when the horizon is still dark and questions linger like clouds. You notice the still hush before first light and feel the pull of intentional choice rising within you. The air carries a quiet song, inviting your heart to listen before traffic and tasks surge. In this tranquil edge of day, you remember a Father whose guidance never falters, whose mercy binds the heavens in perfect alignment, shaping every coming step. You pause to adore His steadfast presence. Show me your ways, Lord, teach me your paths. Psalm 25:4. What weight needs releasing from your hands? Which hidden desire longs to be placed in His care? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the journey ahead. You rise while the skyline glows faintly, a pale ribbon separating night from day, and let the muted world remind you that creation wakes in silence before it moves in strength. You stand at an open window, breeze carrying the scent of dew-soaked grass, and feel how unhurried the earth is in its turning. You breathe deeply, noticing how each inhale slows time, how each exhale loosens knots you did not realize had tightened while you slept. You acknowledge that hurried planning often begins the moment your eyes open. Yet today you refuse to be drafted into frenzy. Instead, you accept the hush as a sacred tutor, teaching you that doing sprouts from being. Birdsong rings out like small trumpets, announcing the King's nearness. You allow their morning liturgy to shape yours, a bowing of mind, a kneeling of motives, a lifted gaze. You remember that God spoke first to Elijah not in earthquake or fire, but in a gentle whisper, and you discern that whispers are audible only when all other sounds bow low. You step away from glowing screens and ticking clocks, knowing that boundaries guard intimacy. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. So Lamentations 3:2-3. Here you taste fresh compassion, like sunrise painted across the sky, assuring you that yesterday's stumbles do not dictate today's story. Mercy rewrites the script before ink dries. In the quiet, you picture your scheduled meetings, commutes, conversations, decisions. You lay each one like stones at the master builder's feet, trusting him to arrange them into a pathway instead of a prison. You ask, what if success today is faithfulness rather than volume? What if the chief accomplishment is attentiveness rather than accumulation? A smile forms because you sense heaven nodding yes. You speak aloud a simple pledge. Led me before I labor. The words flutter into the dawn like a sparrow, yet you believe they reach the throne with the weight of gold. Peace settles, not as emptiness, but as readiness. You realize that stillness is not absence of action, but calibration of soul, ensuring that every later motion matches the rhythm of grace. Now dawn brightens, amber light spills across floors, touching ordinary objects, a mug, a pen, a set of keys, as if crowning them for holy service. You feel anticipation rather than anxiety, for you know that what begins in quiet will move in purpose. You turn from the window, confident that the day to come will take its cue from this prelude of calm, and you carry the hush within you like hidden fire. You leave the quiet window and step into the stream of morning routines, yet you resist being swept away. Before coffee brews or notifications blink, you pause at the kitchen counter, palms resting on cool wood, and decide that nothing will determine your direction except the one who shaped the sunrise. You recognize how easily habits become rails that steer you without permission, how quickly a calendar can turn a soul into cargo. So you breathe, letting awareness widen like a doorway, and you recognize that every thought, every response today can either echo heaven or mirror haste. You picture your phone lighting up, a chorus of voices vying for first place in your mind. But you choose to silence the chorus until the conductor speaks. You remember that attention is the most valuable offering you hold, more costly than currency, because where attention goes, affection follows. You claim this moment as a covenant. You will not let urgency impersonate importance. Instead, you will sift every task through the question, does this align with the Father's heart? The very asking adjusts your posture, straightening spine and spirit. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. So Joshua 24 wind sea wave. The ancient call rings fresh, reminding you that allegiance is renewed at dawn, not assumed. Sacred decision is never a single ceremony, but a daily choreography of yes. You gather mental to-do lists and spread them out like fabric on a table, examining each thread. Some items gleam with genuine purpose, serving a neighbor, honoring a deadline with excellence. Others reveal frayed edges of pride or fear, stitched there by the need to impress or the dread of falling behind. You feel no condemnation, only invitation. Gently, you trim what is unnecessary, trusting that subtraction can be holy. A lighter list remains, breathable and bright, a canvas rather than a chain. You speak intent over the hours ahead. I choose listening over reacting, depth over display, obedience over outcome. The words settle in your chest like anchor stones, steadying you against crosswinds of comparison. You imagine stepping into meetings, carrying quiet curiosity instead of hurried verdicts, answering messages with measured grace rather than reflex. Noticing the unnoticed, a janitor's tired smile, a coworker's unspoken worry. Because availability is ministry. These pictures are not fantasies, they are road signs for the will. The kettle whistles, and you pour water over tea leaves, watching them unfurl, releasing fragrance only when immersed. You recognize a parable surrender does not dissolve identity, it reveals essence. You rehearse again that choosing God's pace may mean slower progress on paper, yet richer fruit in souls, including your own. You lift the mug, warmth radiating through fingers, and pray that every decision today would steep in mercy before it touches another life. At the door you linger for one final vow. Guide each choice and redirect me the moment I drift. Then you turn the knob, stepping into a world still waking, confident that deliberate selection will guard your joy like armor unseen. You settle into the driver's seat, but before turning the key you lower your gaze, realizing that engines are not the only things that need warming. Attention also requires ignition. You steady your breathing and invite quiet to ride alongside you, letting ordinary sounds, wipers clicking, birds crossing telephone lines, become cues to remain alert yet unhurried. Soon traffic gathers, a chorus of accelerating lives, yet inside your mind the volume knob stays low. You remember that true listening is not passive, it is an act of courage, daring to believe that heaven speaks in real time. While red lights hold you, you scan billboards promising more, speed, wealth, acclaim, but you resist their pull by repeating inwardly, "Speak, Lord." Your servant listens, Each repetition polishes the chamber of your soul like cloth on brass, making room for subtle impressions. A nudge to forgive the driver who cut across lanes. An urge to pray for the stranger waiting at the corner. You glimpse how divine conversation rarely shouts. It murmurs behind the surfaces of life, asking you to lean closer. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. So John 10:2-7. The words unveil a pattern. Recognition precedes obedience. Intimacy fuels direction. Listening, then, is relational before it is functional. You park at the office, but instead of launching into greetings, you pause in the stairwell. Fingers resting on the rail, you recall yesterday's interaction when a colleague's sarcasm left you defensive, and you invite the spirit to replay the scene with gentle commentary. See the fatigue in her eyes. Hear the fear beneath her jest. Insight blooms, and you sense today's assignment. Answer her sharpness with kindness rather than mirrored edge. Such discernment would be missed by ears tuned only to human tones. Mid-morning, deadlines hover like storm clouds. Yet you carve 3 minutes to step outside. Sunlight splashes across concrete, and you close eyes, letting warmth translate into reassurance. A passing breeze tussles your hair, whispering that plans can flex without crumbling. You ask, what matters most in the next hour? A quiet inner reply suggests one task, the client email requiring empathy, not speed. You obey, watching sentences soften as you type, guided by attentiveness rather than adrenaline. Moments later, the recipient responds with gratitude, surprised by tenderness buried in corporate exchange. You smile, thankful that listening shapes words into instruments of peace. Lunch arrives, and you overhear cafeteria chatter laced with complaint. You resist entering the spiral. Instead, you silently bless each voice, believing that intercession can dwell inside ambient noise. You catch a co-worker's discouraged glance and feel prompted to share your table. Conversation drifts, and soon she describes worry over a sick parent. You do not offer solutions, you simply listen, nodding, presence turning into balm. When she finishes, relief glimmers in her smile, evidence that borrowed ears can lighten burdens. As afternoon wanes, you review the day's cadence, guidance received, prompts followed, detours avoided. Gratitude swells because you tasted dialogue, not monologue. Heaven spoke, earth replied. You close your planner and pray for greater sensitivity tomorrow, knowing that a heart trained to hear will never walk alone. Mid-afternoon sunlight slants through office blinds, drawing faint gold bars across your desk, and you feel the day's momentum pressing harder with every ding of incoming tasks. Yet even here, you choose calm expectancy over tension, trusting that currents of kindness can steer you more effectively than any surge of willpower. You close an open browser tab, inhale slowly, and sense a quiet interior hand upon your shoulder, easing your pulse, reminding you that wisdom rarely arrives shouting, it glides in with the gentleness of falling light. A notification flashes, an urgent meeting rescheduled for now. Rather than rush, you collect your notes with deliberate care, letting each step toward the conference room become an act of prayerful intention. In the hallway, you greet a custodial worker, noticing fatigue in his posture, and you feel a nudge as subtle as a breeze pause, ask about his morning. The brief exchange births a smile that lingers in his eyes, and you grasp again, how heaven's choreography often unfolds in micro gestures before it rises into grand movements. Whether you turn to the right or to the left, you will hear a voice behind you saying, "This is the way, walk in it." Isaiah 2:1. These ancient words assure you that direction is relational. The shepherd does not merely point to a map. He walks beside you, whispering mid-stride, guiding with presence more than instruction. Inside the meeting, tension hums like an tight string as colleagues debate budgets. You listen first, letting the tone settle, then offer a conciliatory perspective you had not rehearsed. The suggestion diffuses friction, and you marvel that softness can tame stormy agendas. Later, when someone credits your diplomacy, you quietly acknowledge the source whose counsel arrived like dew, unseen yet transformative. Throughout the afternoon, you practice tuning to that inner compass, replying to critical emails with warmth, choosing silence where sarcasm would have scored points, altering a project timeline because peace hinted the original pace was unsustainable. Each decision feels minor, yet you sense a growing symmetry between your inner and outer worlds, as if your actions now echo celestial rhythms. You realize that guidance is seldom about turning aside dramatic disasters. It is more often about small course corrections that prevent unseen collisions miles ahead. Dusk approaches, and you exit the building into a softening sky streaked coral and lavender. Traffic noise rises, yet the earlier touch upon your heart remains. Steady as a low drumbeat, you walk to your car grateful, replaying the day a greeting offered, a tone tempered, an agenda adjusted, all fingerprints of a quiet companion. As engine hum mingles with evening bird song, you whisper, "Keep steering me even when streets grow dark," and the sense of hand on shoulder lingers, assuring you that tomorrow's roads will open beneath the same considerate guidance that carried you today. Evening draws its indigo veil across the sky as you pull into the driveway, headlights carving gentle arcs over familiar walls. You pause before exiting, acknowledging that the day's outward rhythm has slowed, yet an inner symphony still plays. Stepping inside, you set keys in their place, remove shoes, and feel cool floorboards steady your stance. Lamps flicker on like small constellations, and you realize every room can echo heaven if your spirit aligns with the one who fills all spaces. You stand near a window, watching the last traces of coral fade, and notice how shadows lengthen in perfect proportion to the sinking sun. Creation models harmony. Planets keep orbits, tides honor the moon, birds trace migratory paths older than memory. Their order whispers an invitation, live attuned, not adrift. You recall moments today when choices match that silent choreography, and gratitude rises like incense. Yet you also recognize conversations rushed, motives mixed, attitudes bent, and you bring them into the light without self-reproach. Honest assessment is a doorway, not a dungeon. Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Psalm 139:23, those ancient words become a prayerful scan, revealing pockets of tension that survived sunset, inviting gentle recalibration rather than harsh judgment. Moving to the kitchen, you chop vegetables for supper, each measured slice a tiny liturgy of focus. Steam rises from the pot, curling like petitions. You dedicate the mundane task to divine purpose, asking that nourishment reach beyond body to soul. While food simmers, you open your planner, reviewing tomorrow's landscape. Instead of cramming empty margins with new goals, you listen for subtle direction, which meetings need trimming, which friendships require priority, which personal habit longs to breathe. You cross out 2 non-essential items, sensing weight lift as syllables vanish. Such subtraction feels brave, for culture praises fullness. Yet heaven honors fitness, every piece in rightful place. Meal finished, you carry a bowl to the porch and eat beneath emerging stars. Crunch of fresh greens, scent of basil, hum of crickets, all remind you that life tastes richest when savored, not shoveled. You envision your day as a garden tasks are seed beds, conversations channels of water, rest the sunlight. Where balance reigns, fruit flourishes. Where hurry crowds, vines wither. You vow to prune distractions early, freeing energy to bear love's harvest. After dishes, you unroll a mat in a quiet corner. Stretching, you feel tension melt from shoulders as breath deepens, each exhale releasing residue of striving. You pray silently, align posture to purpose, motives to mercy, words to wisdom. In stillness you sense gentle adjustment, like a compass needle correcting toward north, until serenity settles into joints and thoughts. You realize alignment is not a one-time ceremony, it is moment by moment yielding to a wiser cadence. Much like sailors trimming sails to match shifting wind. Night thickens, but lamps glow warm, mirroring the assurance that guidance persists beyond daylight. You journal brief notes, a highlight, a lesson, a lingering question. Pages receive them without judgment, turning experience into mentorship for tomorrow. Closing the book, you thank the faithful one who sculpted the sun's arc and your own. You curl beneath blankets, confident that even dreaming hours participate in holy design. And you drift toward rest, convinced that life, arranged under his hand, becomes a hymn of quiet power. You stir when soft grey light kisses the curtain, a fresh score signaling that yesterday's alignment now longs for movement. Rising quietly, you plant bare feet on cool floorboards and bless the first contact. Every stride today can carry heaven's imprint. In the mirror you notice rested eyes, proof that surrender repairs what striving frays. You thank the keeper of nights and reach for clothes chosen last evening. Simple, comfortable, free of pretense, because intention begins with what touches skin before it touches schedules. Stepping outside, you inhale air tinged with jasmine and distant wood smoke, sensing the streets hush before engines roar. You start a gentle walk, driveway to corner, letting rhythm find you rather than dictating pace. With each heel, to toe roll you whisper a name: neighbor, colleague, child. Intercession powers limbs like hidden springs, converting ordinary exercise into pilgrimage. You realize that geography will never again be random. Whichever direction you turn becomes mission field once love occupies the souls. Back inside, breakfast sizzles. You fill a bowl with oats, berries, honey, unhurried fuel, and pray that nourishment translate into steady energy, not frantic bursts. You review today's trimmed agenda, feeling room to breathe between appointments. That margin becomes invisible ink on the page, allowing divine edits in real time. You ask for eyes that spot interruptions as invitations and ears that detect faint distress calls behind polished greetings. Commute begins. Traffic thickens, yet peace travels with you like a steady companion. A detour sign flashes. You choose patience over complaint, trusting the reroute may prime an unseen assignment. At the next stoplight, a homeless man holds a cardboard plea. You lower the window, offer a granola bar stocked for such moments, and speak a blessing. His surprised gratitude widens your own heart, confirming that purposeful steps often pivot on seconds, not strategies. In the office lobby, you pause by a notice board advertising a blood drive. You pencil your name into an empty slot, recalling that alignment without tangible service stalls into sentiment. Later, during team briefing, tension bubbles over a delayed deliverable. You step forward, voice calm, proposing a revised timeline and volunteering to mentor a junior member. Relief ripples across faces. Influence manifests not through volume, but through readiness to bear weight. Afternoon shadows stretch. You walk courtyard paths during break, feet crunching gravel, and lift silent thanks for every earlier cue, followed the paused detour. The open window, the firm yet gentle leadership moment. You sense momentum, not the rush of accomplishment, but the onward pull of grace. Purpose feels less like a destination and more like a cadence, matching the heartbeat of God, guiding you to place each footfall where mercy is most needed. Evening returns. You jot highlights in your journal, acts of kindness, surprises, areas to refine. Patterns emerge. Listening birthed guidance, guidance birthed alignment, alignment birthed decisive motion. You recognize a spiral of growth that can continue tomorrow if attentiveness greets dawn again. Closing the book, you whisper, "Strengthen my steps for another day," and slip into rest convinced that lead feet leave prints of light upon darkened ground. Breathe deeply and notice how every hour ahead waits like an unmarked path. Invite the one who shaped sunrise to chart your route. Release the urge to sprint and welcome the wisdom to walk. Recall a task that feels heavy. Imagine placing it in gentle hands that never drop what matters. Decide which single act of kindness will become your first footprint beyond this doorway. Let gratitude rise, let expectancy bloom, and enter the day knowing you move in step with grace.